He gets 2 utensils out and he's about to, you know, put it up my nose. But then my dad's like, wait, are you not gonna give her anesthesia or anything for the pain? They're like, oh no, we're out of that. So then my dad's like, so she's gonna feel everything. They're like, yep. And my dad's looking at me and he's like, are you sure you want to go through with this? And I was like, we're here, aren't we? Let's do this. What's up guys, it's your girl Jasmine. Bienvenido a mi canal. So today we're gonna do something a little bit different. Today is a story time of pretty much the most painful experience of my life. The time I broke my nose in the Dominican Republic. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I moved to the Dominican Republic when I was 16 years old. I was there for almost 5 years. So when my parents and I first moved to the Dominican Republic, we did not speak Spanish. Now my parents, they knew like the basic Spanish from high school, but I had never in my life taken a Spanish class. I've yet to take a Spanish class. I studied French. So we moved to an area in the Dominican Republic where pretty much no one spoke English. So it was a little difficult to feel connected to the community, but I played basketball and volleyball and I ran track and field in high school, so I'm pretty athletic, and the Lord used that to help me to feel connected in the community. So in the community, basketball was very popular. Volleyball was also popular, but when we moved, everyone just wanted to play basketball at the time. And we moved into a house that was literally like in a park. So we were able to see all the kids gather together, play together. Now keep in mind, I was 16 years old when we moved. I didn't have any friends there. Again, did not speak the language, so it was a little difficult to make friends. But I was seeing people playing basketball in the park right in front of the house. So I would play with them, and there weren't a lot of females that would play. They just preferred not to, at least those who lived in the community. So I would always play with the guys. Now I was playing with the guys for about a year, no problem. They helped me to feel included. They actually wanted me on their team. I actually was pretty good. I don't know why I was kind of surprised. I don't know. But I just had a fun time playing with them, and even though we didn't speak the same language, there were certain terms that are the same in English and Spanish when it comes to sports. So it just was a way for me to feel like I was included, and I also learned a lot of Spanish while playing with them. Now we were playing in a half court in the park, and they had just opened up a new school that had a full court. So everyone was like, let's go to the new basketball court, let's play basketball over there. And I was invited to tag along, so I was like, yeah, okay.
Powering off.
Oops, that was my speaker. And so I went to the new court as well, and I was scrimmaging with the guys a little bit. And keep in mind, I believe this is the first time. Oh, I don't remember if it was the first time I was playing in this court, or if I had played in it before. But this was the court where it all went down. So someone on my team went up to get the rebound, and so did everyone else, including myself. When he came down, his hand went like on my nose, broke my nose. Now keep in mind, at the time I didn't know it was broken. I thought I just had a bloody nose. So everyone, they stopped the game. They're like, oh, is she okay? Is she okay? Checking on me. And then they're like, okay, well, I think you're okay. Why don't you come and join us and play again? I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to sit this one out. And at this time, I just thought it was a bloody nose, and no one had really looked at it yet because I had it covered because I was bleeding. So I sit down on the bench, and there are people kind of just like looking at me, and then they're like, ¿Estás bien? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Then they're like, well, let me look at it. And so I let them look, and they're like, whoa, I think you need to go to the clinic. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I have medicine in my house. I don't need to go to the clinic or the doctor or hospital. I'll be fine. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be okay. So someone takes me home. And the first thing I do is I go straight to the bathroom because I'm like, I want to see what I'm looking like. I go straight to the bathroom. If you can hear that, ignore him. He's on a phone call. That's my brother. Okay. Anyway, back to the story. I look into the mirror. And as soon as I see myself in the mirror, I just start to cry. And I start to panic. Now, I'm not in any pain because the bleeding stopped. I'm not in any pain. I'm actually able to breathe fine. But it was just looking at myself in the mirror made me like, what? Like, if I have a picture, I'll put that up. Not the most decent photo of me. So I then go to my mom. I'm like, Mom, Mom. And she's in the kitchen. She's like, huh? What? And she looks at me. She goes, what happened? And her reaction made me start to freak out more. It made me start to worry more because it looked way worse than it felt. So then she's like, Devin, calling my dad over. And he's like, what? And he's like, oh. And even my dad, who tends to remain calm in all types of situations, even he seemed a little, which made me start freaking out even more. So my mom is like, Devin, you need to take your daughter to the hospital right now. And so he takes me to the nearest hospital, which is about like 5 minutes away. They're not very experienced with broken bones. And it's just not a very good hospital, in my opinion. And so we go in, we wait for the doctor. Well, actually, the nurse. I believe it was just a nurse. And so the nurse comes in. And when she sees me, she goes, oh, that's bad. And I was like, isn't the doctor or the nurse supposed to like make the patient feel like calm? And then she calls over the other nurses and she's like, come, look how bad her nose is. Like, look how bad it is. Oh my goodness. And they're like, whoa, that's bad. And I was just like, I don't think hospitals are supposed to be like this. So I'm sitting down and the nurse is looking at me. She's talking to the other nurse and then she comes up to me and she's like, puts her fingers on my nose and she goes, like trying to move it back in place. And I just start to like scream. Like I'm like, ah. And I don't think you're supposed to do that with a broken nose. That was just in so much pain. So then the nurse is like, well, we can't really do anything for you, but why don't you go to this hospital? And she writes it down. It's a hospital in the capital, and it is the best hospital for broken bones. Now the hospital is 4 hours away, and it's already pretty late by the time that we're at this hospital. So my dad's like, okay, in the morning, I'll take you to that hospital. But then the nurse, she's like, well, if you have pain, we can give you something for the pain. And I was like, okay, perfect. Because I'm in I wasn't in a lot of pain at that point, but I just, wanted anything that could help. So she gives me a shot in the bottom. I haven't had a shot there since I was a baby. I'm not sure it was effective at all. So the next morning, my dad and I go to the Capitol, 4-hour drive to get to this hospital. Now, this hospital is pretty small and it felt like a maze. It was very confusing. I was trying to communicate with my broken Spanish, my dad as well. At this time, I think our Spanish was probably at the same level. He might have known a little bit more at this time. But they were saying that he could not go in with me or could not go through the lines in the process with me, that he had to stay in the waiting room, which made me feel very uncomfortable because, again, I was not very confident in my Spanish. So I go through the lines, get my x-rays, everything. I was able to do that on my own, barely able to communicate. And then they have me wait in the waiting room, which is the same room as the recovery room. So everyone that just got out of surgery were all in these beds lined up as everyone waiting to go into the recovery room are lined up against the wall. So we're all lined up and we're just looking at everybody in the beds. And there are people crying blood, moaning in pain, with stitches on their heads, their legs, arms. The majority of the injuries were from a motorcycle accident. So I'm waiting for about an hour, I feel. And there's a woman behind me and she's asking me, like, who are you here with? Like, why isn't there anyone waiting with you? Because she's waiting with her teenage son, who happened to have a broken nose and like a sprained ankle or something. And I explained to her that they said that my dad couldn't be with me, like he couldn't wait with me. And she's like, that's ridiculous. Call him and tell him to come here and wait with you. So that's exactly what I did. And so then it was later on, it was finally my turn to go into the operating room. And the doctor says to my dad, he's like, you cannot come in, only she can come in. And I was like, no, I need my dad to go in with me. So we tried to tell him that I don't speak much Spanish and he's my translator, which technically at that point it was true. So we didn't lie. He allowed my dad to go in after we explained that to him. And also the woman behind me was also backing us up and was saying that I'm American, like that, you know, just explaining what I had already told her. So they allowed my dad in with me. Now the operating room is one room with 3 beds, nothing separating each bed. There is blood all over the floor, and there is a man in the bed that's next to the bed where I was supposed to be, and then a man in the other bed. I believe the man in the bed next to me, I tried not to look, so I believe he was getting his legs stitched up. But the man in the last bed had his skull split from here all the way back here. Wide open, could see everything inside. Just to clear things up, it was the skin of his head that was split and you could see his skull. It was not his actual skull that was split. Not that I believe. And they're stitching him up and he's like moaning, and his moaning is getting louder and louder and louder, and he's just like screaming. And so this was no way to make me feel calm. My dad is like trying to like block me from seeing them, to just like try to shelter me and calm me down. So they tell me to lie down on the bed, lying down on the bed. They look at my x-rays. Then the doctor looking at my x-rays calls the other doctor over, the one that I believe is working on the guy with the skull. Yeah. And he's like, what's wrong with her? We don't know what's wrong with her. Now, I don't understand how they didn't know what was wrong with me, because I had a huge nose that was very crooked. Like, it was obviously broken. And they were looking at my x-rays, couldn't figure out what was wrong. So they sent my x-rays to a different hospital to ask the doctors what was wrong with me. Yeah. So I'm waiting. Finally, the other hospital responds and lets them know what was wrong. Then they're like, okay, so she has a broken nose and broken cheekbones. It was like broken or fractured. I think broken. Anyway, I was just a mess from here and then here. It was a pretty bad break. And my daddy asked me, he's like, do you want to wait a few weeks, maybe even up to a month, to go to the States and get operated on in the States, or do you just want to get this taken care of right now? Now, I did not want to walk around with a broken nose and broken cheekbones for weeks up to a month, because I still had to go out. I still had to go to work. I still had to be involved in the community. It's very hard to lock yourself away in that community. Everybody sees everybody, and I just didn't want that. So I was like, we're here. We've been waiting for a while. Let's just get this taken care of right now. So the doctor gets out this little bag of what looked like metal utensils. And he gets 2 utensils out. And he's about to, put it up my nose. But then my dad's like, wait, are you not going to give her anesthesia or anything for the pain? They're like, oh no, we're out of that. So then my dad's like, so she's going to feel everything. They're like, yep. And my dad's looking at me and he's like, are you sure you want to go through with this? And I was like, we're here, aren't we? Let's do this. So my dad grabs my hand, grabs it. He's trying to be strong for me. And they stick the utensils up my nose and they go, trying to move it back in place. Now, I'm pretty sure this lasted maybe like 3 to 4 minutes. I wasn't counting. I was just in pain. So I start to scream. And I'm pretty sure I made everybody in that waiting room or in that line very nervous because we could hear the screams of the guy with the skull open from outside. And I'm pretty sure everyone heard my screams because I was screaming. So they finish and I was relieved. And they put cotton up my nose, bandaged it up, everything. If I have pictures, I'll put pictures up. And then they say, okay, they write down a list of medications and they're like, okay, buy these at the pharmacy and she's supposed to take, this for, this amount of time, yada, yada. Then they say, come back in 5 days so we can take out the bandages. My dad and I, we look at each other, we're like, we're never coming back here. So we didn't. We never went back. Now the perks to this hospital was that it was free. So we did not have to pay anything. We get into the car because we're going to stay in a hotel. Now usually I would sit in the front in the passenger's side seat with my, dad driving, of course. But because I was just like, that took a lot out of me and I was like, Dad, I would like to sit in the back so I could lie down or just rest. And he's like, okay, perfect. That's okay. We first get in the car and I don't really know why, but I'm sitting like straight up and I'm looking straight. We're in the car for like a few minutes. I was just like, my posture was really good and I'm looking straight and I really don't know why I was sitting that way, but I was. We're at a stop sign and then we feel like a whoa, like the car shift. And then we look over to the right. A car backed into the passenger's side of the car where I was supposed to sit. So my dad, he gets out of the car. The guy that just hit us gets out of the car. They're talking and my dad's like, no one got hurt. It's all good. The guy, he takes full responsibility for it. He admits it's his fault, which was very surprising. We weren't used to that because we've been in accidents before or in situations before, and the majority of the time the people were like, well, it's your fault, and they're trying to get money out of us because we're American. But he was very respectful. He was like, you know what, I have insurance. It's my fault, I'm sorry. And my dad's like, you know what, no hard feelings. I'm okay. My daughter, I just got her out of the hospital. She's okay. Now, when I hear him talking about me, I roll down the window and I look pitiful. I'm all like red eye from like crying and my nose is just all bandaged up and I'm looking a mess. And when he looks at me, he's like, oh, I am so sorry. And he like feels even worse. To this day, there's a huge dent in the passenger side of the car. We never got it fixed, not really. In that moment, I really saw like, wow, God really protected us, because if I had been sitting in the passenger side of the car, or even if I had lied down like I was planning on doing, I probably would be telling a different story right now. And the fact that I was sitting straight up, like looking straight, and I had no idea even why I was sitting like that. Again, That was God. So we get to the hospital. We get to the hotel. And my dad, he leaves me there to go get meds at the pharmacy, what they suggested. It was for infection and pain, which the pain meds did nothing. I was just in so much pain. I could not sleep probably for 3 days because every time I would lie down, I would feel pressure and it would just be so much pain. I could not sleep, and then it gave me a huge headache. So I tried to learn like sleeping sitting up, but it was just too hard for me. Like I couldn't do it. It was just too painful. But my dad was like really helpful, and he'd change my bandages out every day. And after 5 days, he took out the cotton, and we never went back to that hospital or a hospital after that. Well, at least I didn't. I never went somewhere to get a checkup to make sure it healed properly. After my dad took the cotton out and the bandages out and everything, my nose was just like, was still very swollen, which is expected, but it was still very crooked. For months, it was crooked. And for probably, I think up to a year, every time I would tilt my head, my nose would droop that direction. And it would always like droop. So I would be lying down or taking a nap and my nose would just start to droop. And whenever I would feel it like out of place, I would have to like move it with my hands. Now it's better. It's been what, like 4 years? And I still to this day sometimes feel like discomfort in my nose, or sometimes like I'll feel it start to like get a little bit swollen, or it's still not very secure. I probably should go to a doctor. Now that I am in the States, I probably should go to a doctor. But it like straightened up over time, really with time and with prayer. A lot of people were praying for me, praying over me, and every time like someone would pray, I would feel it like straighten up a little bit. So that really helped a lot. Something that this experience taught me was that I am much stronger than I thought I was. The Lord will never give you more than you can handle. And I didn't realize I could handle that, but He did. And even though it was really seemed like an attack from the enemy, you know, breaking my nose, getting hit by that car, the Lord turned the bad into good. He protected us through it. My relationship with the Lord grew stronger, and my trust for Him grew stronger. And honestly, all I could do at the end of the day was praise Him. So I have shared this on my channel before, but it wasn't a very good video. I'll probably take that down. It was put on my heart to share it with you guys. If you like storytime videos or want to hear more about my experience in the Dominican Republic, living abroad, just let me know. I have stories for days. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!